I'm Heather, 28 years old, and my life has been a shadow cast by my sister's spotlight. Every step, every breath was measured against her perfection, but last month at our family's Thanksgiving dinner, something inside me shattered. The table was packed with relatives when my sister, drunk on wine, spilled her glass on the carpet and pointed at me. "Clean it up, you're good at that." My mom nodded, smirking. "She's right, you've always been her little helper." My aunt laughed, egging it on. My dad sat silent as he had for 28 years. Then my sister kicked off her fancy red-soled heel, tossing it my way. "Clean this too." I grabbed that shoe, locked eyes with her, and flung it toward her face before dropping it in the trash. "Clean it yourself," I said, voice steady. 28 years as this family's slave is over. I walked out, their stunned silence trailing me. A week later, 45 missed calls from my mom begging about something wrong with your sister. I texted back 3 words: "The slave's busy. If it were you, would you make them pay or give them a chance to make things right? Comment below and let's debate." That rage had simmered since my earliest memories. Growing up in a working-class suburb of Chicago, our home was a modest brick house where the living room served as a showcase for my sister's accomplishments. Photos of her dominated the walls, her Harvard acceptance letter framed in gold, law school awards, polished weekly graduation cap tossed high in celebration. My single school picture was pushed to a dark corner behind a stack of her certificates. My mother, Patricia, built her world around being my sister's champion, a former secretary who poured her unfulfilled dreams into her eldest daughter. She would say things like, "Look at your sister, so beautiful, so smart, so successful. You should try to be more like her." My father, Gregory, worked long hours as a mechanic and came home exhausted. He never challenged the obvious preference, offering only occasional quiet nods when I showed him something I'd done. His silence felt like agreement, leaving me to navigate the imbalance alone. The pattern started early. At age 8, I brought home a first-place ribbon from the school math competition. My teacher had praised my quick calculations, but when I showed it to my mother, she glanced briefly and set it aside. "That's nice, Heather. Now go help your sister with her homework. She has an important test tomorrow." Instead of celebration, my achievement became a footnote to her needs. From then on, my daily routine revolved around service. I woke up before everyone to prepare her breakfast, perfectly toasted bagels with cream cheese, just how she liked them. I packed her lunch with notes I'd write to make her smile, then cleaned her room while she got ready for school. It was presented as my responsibility. "You're the younger sister," my mother explained. "It's your job to support her. That's how families work." I learned to anticipate her wants without being asked, turning invisibility into survival. Meanwhile, my sister enjoyed every advantage. She had private tutoring sessions 3 times a week to maintain her straight A's, piano lessons that filled the house with music I wasn't allowed to join, and designer clothes bought on shopping trips I tagged along for, carrying bags while she tried on outfits. At 16, she got a brand new car for her birthday, shiny red with all the features. I wore her hand-me-downs, faded and too big, and started working part-time at a local diner from age 14 to buy my own school supplies. I walked 2 miles to school in the rain because the car was for her activities. No one questioned this divide. It was just how things were. Family dinners became regular reminders of my place. Relatives would gather around the table, and conversation inevitably turned to her latest triumphs. Aunts and uncles asked about her grades, her friends, her future plans. If I mentioned something like a good test score or a project I'd completed, the topic shifted back quickly. "That's wonderful, but did you hear your sister got selected for the debate team?" My mother would interject, her eyes lighting up only for those stories. My contributions were dismissed or reframed as benefits from her example. When I built a simple budget tracker for a class assignment showing how to manage allowance money, it was credited to "learning from your sister's discipline." Never mind that I created it alone late at night after finishing chores. The emotional weight built quietly. Teachers at school knew me only as her sibling, expecting me to match her charisma, but fading when I didn't. I became the reliable one, the girl who helped with group projects but never led them. Socially, her friends treated me like an extension of her, asking me to run errands or cover for her plans. I internalized it all, downplaying my interests before anyone could criticize. Reading books on investing and economics became my private escape, hidden under my bed, away from judgment. Those pages offered logic and possibility in a world where my value seemed conditional on usefulness to others. By middle school, the divide felt permanent. She collected academic honors effortlessly, her name in the local paper for spelling bees and science fairs. My efforts went unnoticed. When I saved enough from my job to buy a used calculator for advanced math, my mother questioned the expense. "We need to save for your sister's college fund," she said, despite my father's steady income covering basics. That same month, they spent hundreds on her prom dress and limo. I attended my own events alone, riding the bus while she was driven in style. The favoritism extended to discipline, too. If something went wrong, a broken vase or missed curfew, it fell on me first. "You should know better," came the lectures, even when evidence pointed elsewhere. My father might pat my shoulder later in private, whispering, "Good job on that test last week," but he never spoke up during the moments that mattered. His kindness was hidden, like he feared rocking the boat more than protecting me. As I approached high school, I started questioning the system internally. Why did her path get all the resources while mine got scraps? I threw myself into studies, earning solid grades in math and economics classes that fascinated me. But even those successes were minimized. A B+ on a tough exam drew sighs. If you'd focus like your sister, that would be an A. Her straight A's were effortless, mine hard-won but undervalued. Looking back, those years shaped my resolve. The constant service and dismissal planted seeds of independence I nurtured in secret. While the house celebrated her every milestone, I built my own foundation, one calculation, one saved dollar at a time. It wasn't rebellion yet, just quiet preparation for the day I'd step out from under that weight. By high school, I was finding ways to carve my own path. The public library became my sanctuary, a quiet escape where I pored over books by Warren Buffett and Robert Kiyosaki, learning about stock markets and investments. Those pages offered a world where logic ruled, not favoritism. My mother, Patricia, caught me with one once and scoffed, "Those books won't make you a better woman. Focus on practical skills like your sister." I hid them under my mattress after that, reading by flashlight after everyone slept. At 15, I entered a state math competition, spending weeks building a model to predict stock trends. My calculations won first place, but no one came to the ceremony. My family was at my sister's regional debate tournament. Later, I found out she'd used my research notes to prep her winning arguments, claiming the ideas as hers. My ribbon went into a drawer unnoticed. School was a constant reminder of my place. Teachers greeted me with, "Oh, you're her sister," their smiles fading when I didn't match her charm. Her friends treated me like a personal assistant, asking me to carry their bags or fetch snacks during lunch. I was just the younger one, defined by her shadow. Socially, I faded into the background, eating alone in the library to avoid their demands. To afford my own supplies, I juggled 3 part-time jobs: diner, waitress, grocery clerk, weekend tutor, while my sister focused on building her future with no distractions. My mother justified it. "She's preparing for Harvard. You can't expect the same opportunities." Her Harvard acceptance came when I was 16, sparking weeks of family celebrations. Aunts and uncles flooded our house, toasting her future as a lawyer. My parents took out a loan to cover her deposit, calling it an investment in greatness. Meanwhile, I applied to State University of Illinois with a full scholarship for their finance program. When I shared the news, my mother's response was a curt nod. "That's practical, Heather. We can't spend more when your sister's tuition is the priority." My father glanced up from his newspaper, offering a quiet, "Well done," but said nothing else. The gap between us grew wider, her path paved with gold, mine with gravel. Despite the dismissals, I found a mentor in Dr. Susan Miller, a retired economist who volunteered at the library. She noticed me scribbling stock charts and offered to teach me advanced principles: compound interest, market analysis, portfolio diversification. Under her guidance, I opened a paper trading account, practicing investments with fake money. By 17, I'd turned a virtual $10,000 into $25,000 in 6 months, mastering strategies most adults couldn't grasp. Dr. Miller called it a gift the first time anyone had named my potential without comparison. I didn't tell my family. Sharing felt like inviting judgment, and I'd learned silence was safer. My sister's senior year was a parade of accolades: valedictorian, debate captain, local news features. My own achievements stayed hidden. I aced advanced economics, earning a teacher's praise for a project on market cycles, but brought it home to blank stares. "Your sister's speech at graduation was flawless," my mother said, instead redirecting the conversation. Family gatherings echoed the same. Relatives asked about her college plans, her internships, her bright future, while my presence barely registered. If I spoke up, it was brushed off with, "You'll get there someday, Heather, but she's already there." The constant overshadowing fueled a quiet fire. I started saving every penny from my jobs, building a secret fund for college. Late nights after my shifts and homework, I studied investment blogs and practiced trading patterns. My virtual portfolio grew, but so did my isolation. I wasn't allowed to outshine her, not in their eyes. When I graduated high school with honors, my ceremony was overshadowed by her move to Harvard. My parents drove her to campus, leaving me to pack my bags alone for state. Dr. Miller sent a congratulatory note, the only one who marked the moment. That summer, I made a choice. I'd keep my growing skills hidden, not out of shame but strategy. The world they built didn't deserve to claim my light. As I prepared for college, I carried those library lessons and my secret fund, ready to build something they couldn't touch. State University of Illinois felt like freedom. My 200-square-foot studio apartment, paid for with financial aid and 3 part-time jobs, was a sanctuary despite its peeling paint and noisy neighbors. For the first time, I was judged on my own merits. Finance classes challenged me, and I thrived, earning a 4.0 GPA and a spot on the dean's list every semester. I worked as a campus tutor, library assistant, and weekend intern at a local bank, balancing 18-hour days to cover tuition and rent. My sister, meanwhile, sailed through law school in Boston, her expenses covered by my parents' savings and loans. They sent her weekly care packages, coffee, snacks, even cashmere scarves, while I scraped by on instant noodles and secondhand textbooks. In my sophomore year, I met Daniel, a finance major with sharp eyes and a quiet confidence. He noticed my knack for dissecting market trends during a group project and pushed me to present our findings alone. "You're brilliant, Heather," he said, the first person to say it without a caveat. We started dating, spending late nights studying derivatives and dreaming about trading floors. Daniel became my anchor, celebrating my A's and my first internship offer at a small investment firm. But visits home exposed the cracks. During spring break, he came with me to Chicago and saw the family dynamic firsthand. At dinner, I fell back into old habits, serving plates, clearing dishes, staying silent while my mother praised my sister's law school honors. Daniel's jaw tightened as relatives asked about her upcoming clerkship, ignoring my presence. Thanksgiving was worse. The extended family gathered, and the table became a stage for her achievements. "She's on track to be a federal judge," my mother boasted, passing the gravy. A cousin asked about my studies, but before I could answer, she cut in, "Heather's doing fine, but law school is a different league." Daniel leaned over, whispering, "Why do you let them treat you like a servant?" I brushed it off, conditioned to prioritize family harmony. But his words lingered, stirring unease. He started pointing out the pattern, how I shrank at home, how my mother's comparisons erased me. "You're not their staff," he said after one visit, frustration rising. "You're their daughter." The strain grew junior year. I landed a competitive internship at a Chicago hedge fund, analyzing portfolios for high-net-worth clients. My supervisor praised my instincts, but when I shared the news at home, my mother's response was, "That's nice, but when will you aim higher like your sister?" Daniel was furious. "They don't see you," he said, urging me to push back. I couldn't. Years of being the lesser daughter had wired me to avoid conflict. Family dinners became torture, me serving, cleaning, absorbing comments like, "If only you had her ambition." Daniel sat through them, his silence louder each time. By senior year, I was excelling, named top finance student, invited to present at a regional conference. I sent my parents an invite, hoping they'd come. They didn't. They were in Boston for her moot court competition. Daniel attended instead, clapping louder than anyone when I finished. But the gap between my college life and home life widened. He started pressing harder. "You're letting them define you," he said one night, his voice sharp. "Set boundaries, or you'll lose yourself." I argued back, "They're my family. I can't just abandon them." The tension built, our dates turning into debates about my inability to stand up. I felt torn, love for him clashing with the ingrained duty to my family. Graduation came and I walked the stage with honors. Daniel's family cheered from the stands while my parents sent a text, "Congrats," but were at her ceremony. Her law school graduation was the main event, mine an afterthought. Daniel pulled me aside after, his face serious. "I can't keep watching you disappear in that house," he said. "Choose yourself, or we're done." His ultimatum hit like a punch. I loved him, but the weight of my conditioning family first always felt heavier. We fought, voices rising in my tiny apartment. "I can't change them," I said, tears falling. He packed his bag, saying, "Then change how you let them treat you." He left for a job in New York, and I stood alone, the silence deafening. The 2008 financial crisis hit just as I graduated. My honors degree and dean's list record meant nothing when banks froze hiring. With no job offers and savings drained from college, I had no choice but to move back into my childhood bedroom in Chicago at 22. The familiar walls, still plastered with my sister's accolades, closed in around me. She meanwhile landed a high-flying job at a top law firm in Boston, buying a sleek downtown condo with a skyline view. My mother, Patricia, didn't miss a chance to point it out. Your sister planned her career better, she'd say, passing me laundry to fold. Finance was a risky choice. My father, Gregory, stayed quiet, tinkering in the garage to avoid the tension. Returning home felt like stepping back into a cage. I was thrust into old roles, cooking dinners, running errands, cleaning up after family gatherings. My sister, home for holidays, treated me like her personal assistant, demanding I organize her work files or pick up her dry cleaning. You're living here rent-free, my mother justified. Contribute something useful. The expectation was clear, my presence was a burden, my purpose to serve. When I mentioned job applications, she waved it off. Maybe try something stable like secretarial work. Not everyone's cut out for big careers. The dismissal stung, but worse was the silence from my father, who avoided my eyes when I passed him in the hall. The breakup with Daniel made it unbearable. He'd moved to New York for a trading job, unwilling to watch me shrink back into the family's shadow. Our last call ended with him saying, "I can't stay if you won't fight for yourself." The line went dead, and so did a piece of me. I threw myself into job searches, sending hundreds of resumes, but the market was brutal. Each rejection email felt like proof I'd never escape. Then came Victor, a senior advisor at a struggling Chicago financial firm, where I landed an entry-level role after 5 months of searching. The pay was barely above minimum wage, crunching numbers for small business clients, but Victor saw something in me. "You think like a strategist," he said after I streamlined a client's budget, cutting their costs by 10%. He gave me unconventional tasks, analyzing market shifts, drafting investment plans, things most new hires didn't touch. Off hours, he connected me with freelance clients needing personal financial advice. I worked late into the night building budgets and portfolios for small investors, earning fees that quickly outpaced my sister's law firm salary. I didn't tell a soul. Keeping my success secret was deliberate. At home, I played the broke graduate, nodding when my mother compared my unstable job to my sister's secure career. I funneled every dollar into a hidden savings account, growing it steadily while living frugally in their basement. My sister's visits became showcases of her arrogance. She'd toss her coat at me, expecting me to hang it, or complain about her stressful cases while I washed dishes. My mother enabled it, saying, "She works so hard, Heather. Help her out." I bit my tongue, but each demand fueled a growing fire. My father's health added pressure. A heart condition surfaced, requiring expensive tests not covered by insurance. Medical bills piled up, and my mother's stress turned into pointed comments. "If only you had a real job you could help," she'd sigh, ignoring that I was quietly banking thousands. Victor pushed me further, teaching me advanced investment strategies, hedging options, trading that multiplied my freelance income. By 6 months in, I was earning more than my sister's starting salary, sometimes pulling $10,000 in a single month from high net worth clients. I kept it all hidden, stashing funds in investments and planning my exit. The double life took its toll. By day, I was a nobody in their eyes, fetching coffee or folding laundry. By night, I was a financial powerhouse, advising clients who trusted my instincts. The contrast sharpened my resentment. Every time, Jorge, every chore, every comparison stoked a quiet rage. I wasn't ready to break free yet, but I was building an empire. They couldn't see one that would soon turn their world upside down. 3 years after moving home, a Seattle investment firm changed everything. They headhunted me for a senior analyst role, offering $180,000 annually plus bonuses. I accepted, packed my bags, and left Chicago without telling my family the full truth. To them, I was still scraping by at a shaky finance job. In reality, I bought a modern 3-bedroom house in Seattle's Capitol Hill, complete with a view of the Sound. My personal investment portfolio hit $500,000 by age 26, built on disciplined trading and freelance work. I flew back for the holidays wearing old clothes and dodging questions about my career. Still figuring things out, I'd mumble, letting them assume I was barely afloat. Meanwhile, my sister's perfect life began to crack. Her marriage to a corporate lawyer unraveled when he discovered her secret credit card debts, tens of thousands spent on designer bags and luxury trips. A malpractice lawsuit hit her law firm, accusing her of mishandling client funds. The legal fees piled up and her condo payments became unmanageable. During a rare phone call, she hinted at borrowing money from our parents, her voice strained. My mother, Patricia, still bragged about her to neighbors, unaware of the mess. I kept silent, my success a shield I wasn't ready to show. In Seattle, I met Ryan, a tech entrepreneur running a startup focused on sustainable energy. We connected at a finance conference where I spoke on market trends. He admired my clarity, asking sharp questions that turned into coffee, then dinner. Unlike Daniel, Ryan didn't know my family's baggage and saw me for who I was, a strategist, not a servant. We spent weekends hiking Rainier or crunching numbers for his company's expansion. When he asked why I never mentioned my achievements to my family, I shrugged. They wouldn't get it. He frowned but didn't push, letting me keep my walls up. Back home, my father's health worsened. His heart condition required surgery costing $80,000 uncovered by insurance. My mother's calls grew frantic, mentioning mortgage struggles and the risk of losing their house. My sister, drowning in her own debt, couldn't help. My aunt, always quick to meddle, suggested I take out a loan since I didn't have big expenses. The irony burned. I could have paid cash twice over but let them think I was broke. Their assumptions fed my resolve to stay hidden, my success a private rebellion. Thanksgiving brought the breaking point. I flew to Chicago, bracing for the usual routine. The dining room was packed with relatives, the air thick with tension. My sister, visibly stressed and half-drunk, knocked over her wine glass, staining the rug. "Clean it up, Heather," she snapped. "You're used to it." My mother nodded, smirking. She's always been good at the little tasks. My aunt chuckled, adding perfect for helping her sister. My father stared at his plate, silent as ever. Then my sister kicked off her red-soled heel, tossing it toward me. "Polish this while you're at it," she said, voice dripping with disdain. I picked up the shoe, heart pounding, and locked eyes with her. Without a word, I flung it toward her face, letting it land in the trash can by the door. "Clean it yourself," I said. 28 years of being your slave ends now." I grabbed my coat and walked out, their stunned faces frozen behind me. The week after I walked out was chaos. My phone buzzed with 45 missed calls and voicemails from my mother, starting angry, then desperate. "Heather, we need you. Something's wrong with your sister," one message pleaded. I ignored them all, texting back once, "The slave's busy." My sister's world had collapsed. A criminal investigation into her mishandling of client funds led to bankruptcy, her law license suspended. She faced potential jail time under a Chapter 7 filing, her condo seized to cover debts. My father's heart condition triggered a near-fatal attack, requiring $120,000 for emergency surgery, money they didn't have. My mother's voice cracked in her last voicemail, admitting they might lose the house to foreclosure. I returned to Chicago for a family meeting, not out of duty but to set terms. My mother sat me down, eyes red. "We're family, Heather. We stick together." I leaned forward, voice calm. "Am I family now, or just your servant?" She flinched. My father needed the surgery within days, or his health would collapse. My sister, drowning in legal fees, couldn't contribute a dime. My aunt chimed in, "You must have some savings from your little job." I let the assumption hang, then laid out my conditions. They would host a family gathering where my mother and sister would publicly apologize for 28 years of unfair treatment. My sister had to admit her financial irresponsibility. My photos would replace hers on the living room walls. No more comparisons, no more demands. "That's the price," I said. "Pay it or I walk." My sister exploded. "You're holding Dad's life hostage," she shouted. I met her glare. "I learned from you taking what I was owed for years." My mother tried bargaining, offering a private apology. I shook my head. All terms or nothing. They had no choice. My bank account could cover the surgery 10 times over, and they knew it. The gathering was set for the next weekend, relatives packed into the same dining room where I'd thrown the shoe. Before everyone, my mother stood, voice shaking. "I favored your sister and diminished Heather's worth. I was wrong." My sister, face pale, admitted her bankruptcy and years of reckless spending, her voice breaking as she confessed to losing everything. I slid my phone across the table, showing my bank balance, the deed to my Seattle house, and a portfolio statement worth over $750,000. Gasps rippled through the room. A cousin whispered, "She's the successful one." My aunt's jaw dropped, her usual smugness gone. I didn't say a word, letting the numbers speak. 6 months later, my father recovered thanks to the surgery I funded. He called once, voice soft, saying, "I see you now, Heather." I nodded but kept my distance. My mother, stripped of her golden child narrative, grew quiet, her calls unanswered. My sister's trial ended with a 1-year prison sentence for fraud, her career dead. She moved into my parents' basement, disbarred and broke. Their house went into foreclosure when they couldn't pay the mortgage, forcing a move to a cramped apartment. In Seattle, I was promoted to vice president at the firm, my salary climbing to $250,000. Ryan proposed during a sunset hike, his ring simple but steady like our bond. Financial Weekly named me a rising star in wealth management, my face on their cover. I bought a larger house, a sleek modern build with floor-to-ceiling windows, and rarely visited Chicago. When my sister texted begging for a loan to cover her legal debts, I stared at the screen. "I'm busy," I replied. "Ask your servant." Oh wait, that was me. I hit send and blocked her number. For 28 years, I was their invisible helper, my worth tied to their demands. Now I'm my own queen, building a life where no one defines me. Queens don't serve, they rule.